Hello, welcome to the first full episode of Culturally Illiterate. Simply put, this is a podcast where four longtime friends watch through every major Marvel DC movie ever released in order, and then just chat about our thoughts in hopes of improving our media and cultural literacy. But really, if you're looking for just a laid back, friendly, conversational podcast, if that sounds enjoyable to you, please come join us as we go through this. Give us a listener, and if you've not already, please check out our it's like 20 minutes or so intro episode that's already posted at this point, if you want to just kind of get to know us better. But for now, I am one of your hosts, Jake, and what you need to know about me is that I am left-handed, and with me are my co-hosts.
I am Jason. I'm Jake's brother, and my fun fact, I guess, is that I make hyperpop music because I'm a little queer boy.
My fun fact is that recently I got scammed on a dating app.
That's your fun fact, Matt?
Indeed it is. Because it is very fun.
We're also going to preface Jason's with he is queer. So yeah, I am Sean. My fun fact of the day is I have had 11 ferrets. Yeah, I'm weird.
Yeah, Sean's a ferret guy.
How many of them are dead?
Most of them.
That was a morbid question, man.
What a shame.
All right, well,
what would you expect as the answer, Matt? I don't.
Did you think like 9 of them were living still? Like
I've had 11 of them all at once.
He's had 11 of them throughout his life.
Sean's
had.
I should preface that I had them throughout my life and not all at once. Anyways.
Okay, well, brief housekeeping before we get into the actual main topic of conversation. As of right now, we are planning to drop episodes bi-weekly because I, as the editor, I'm not very good at it. And I don't have, so it's time consuming, and that's something I don't have a ton of. So I would like to eventually get to weekly episodes, but for now, the plan, as we're recording this, the plan is to release bi-weekly. And I'm thinking of dropping episodes. We haven't actually talked about this, but I'm thinking of we're going to drop episodes. I'm going to say it right now. We're dropping them Wednesday because comic books come out on Wednesdays, except DC's, which come out on Tuesdays, but fuck that.
Wait, DC's comics come out on Tuesdays?
DC comics go on sale on Tuesday. It's really annoying.
Why?
I work at a comic book store, and let me tell you, DC, when they switched distributors, it was good to break up the Diamond comic distributing monopoly, but they handled it horribly, and they switched their on-sale date to Tuesdays, because I guess they just wanted to be I don't know why, but it's stupid, and I hate it.
We're not like the other comic book publishers.
It's very inconvenient. And then I also just want to say, I failed to kind of talk about 2 podcasts that were like primary inspirations for me feeling like this could be a fun thing to do in our intro episode. So I just kind of wanted to shout out those real quick. So shout out to the Infinity Podcast hosted by Scott Thomas and Rachel Shank and formerly Patrick Willems. They're pop culture podcasts, and they just, I don't know, they create a nice like laid back conversational vibe, the same type of thing I'm going for. Hope that we're going for with this. So just kind of want to give them credit. And then Matt's looking at me weird. And Ear Biscuits from Rhett and Link. Much more popular one, but seems like a good fun time to do something like that with friends. Anyway, I'm assuming when we talked about this before, none of you guys really had anything podcast wise, but any of you guys have podcasts that
Yeah, I the reason I agreed to doing this podcast, aside from wanting to be included
and being tortured,
yeah, and being threatened by Jake. No, the Yard. That's a great podcast hosted by former Twitch streamer Ludwig and his little fuckboy roommates, and that's a great podcast. Highly recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I just didn't want to not give credit to people that or kind of we're going for tone, trying to match tone of. Well,
I know with me anyways, I don't listen to podcasts that much, and the only thing I've listened to that is a podcast is Dungeons and Daddies, and that's completely different from this.
It's because you're quite daddy yourself, Sean.
And, considering That's the only experience I have. This will be an interesting time for me.
Yeah, we're doing it for fun.
Does Matt have experience? Matt, do you have experience?
I listened to Ear Biscuits. 1 second. I'm going to up the volume a little bit. I listened to a little bit of Ear Biscuits, but only the parts where they talk about sex.
That's
What?
interesting, Matt. Moving on. So first movie, we're going to be covering Superman and the Mole Men, released November 23rd, 1951. And just we're going to basically just run through the plot summary and kind of break down our thoughts as we go. Likely going to divert plenty along the way, at least I hope so, because what fun is it if we don't? And just confirming for the audience, I am the only person who had seen this movie previously, so we're coming off of first time watching for the rest of you, unless I'm wrong.
Correct.
Thank you. I also want to first, before we get too into that though, just kind of throw out there, like I said, like I want it to be more of a general conversation. If any of you have any movies, shows, music, books, comics, games, or otherwise that you it's on the front of your mind to recommend or discuss a bit. I know. Oh, you got some?
No, I was.
Oh, I thought you started
adjusting
in your
my
mouth.
glasses.
See, this is going so smoothly.
This is going so well.
Yeah, we're really used to this. Well, I watched a documentary during work today. Who We Are, A Chronicle of Racism in America. So I highly recommend that.
That is completely different from what we were learning about today with Women's History Month.
Yeah, that's true. Way to date.
I mean, I'm dating it because now they'll know. This is
I mean, these are all being
these are
recorded
planned way ahead of
plenty
time.
in advance.
We're so great at planning, guys.
Because as previously stated, it's going to take me about 1.5 years to edit an episode.
Fuck yeah.
This may be an annual podcast.
This may be an annual podcast. We're trying for bi-weekly, but
yeah, no, strongly recommend to all of you guys. It's really good. It's almost like a TED Talk, kind of interspersed with like documentary aspects. Just kind of going through a pretty strong breakdown of how intertwined white supremacy and racism is institutionally with America, and that you kind of can't separate the two. You can't talk about the history of America without that, and anyone who says otherwise is foolish. So that's just, having just watched that, forefront of my mind. I won't delve on it too long because I know none of you guys have seen it, but definitely a recommend.
That reminds me this has nothing to do with the topic of that documentary, but just on the topic of documentaries, for some reason that reminded me that I watched this documentary about Oasis like 2 years ago, and it was so fascinating because there was this one story that they talked about in it where they were like on meth during a concert because they like found a bag of meth in their dressing room and they thought it was cocaine, and they had all done cocaine before, so they were like, oh, let's do some cocaine, and then it was meth, and they hadn't done meth before, and they came out on stage and were all playing different songs.
Goddamn.
And that really like left an impression on me.
That really stuck with you, huh?
It really did. I love Oasis.
So Jake, that documentary about racism reminds me about meth.
Well, it's just like they're documentaries, so I guess that's a hey man, that's what we're going for.
That is what reminded me of it. I was like, oh, that's a documentary.
A conversation's not worth having if you're not gonna, go all over the place. This is gonna be the problem for me. I talk with my hands so goddamn much, and I can't express that over a podcast.
I relate to that so hard.
I can't wait till you smack the mic out of you just
Oh, it's inevitable.
When we tried to record the first episode, or our first intro, and I fucking almost threw my computer down on the fucking floor, that was fucking scary. I'm just waiting for the moment that one of us fucking throws their shit all the way across the room, and it's like, oh great, that recording isn't happening anymore.
It's gonna happen so many times, I'm sure. And it's gonna happen it's gonna happen as we're wrapping up or 45 minutes in or something. It's gonna be at the worst time. I just know it. Yeah.
I hope it does happen.
Why would you wish that on us?
Matt
'Cause
just
it's
wants
funny.
to sabotage everything. He's just not. He's gonna sit. He's gonna say like one word during these. I think we're like 5 words deep into Matt so far.
Well, everyone talks so much. I can't really find like a way to wedge myself into it.
To insert
We're-
yourself.
we're-
Oh shoot! 1 second, my foot's stuck.
So all,
Sorry.
that's the most Matt's talked is his foot got stuck in a basket. We're all gonna corner out the one not white person. We're all gonna speak over him apparently. But if you guys heard the outtakes, you would know how exasperated I am with Matt. I love Matt dearly.
Are you sure about that?
All right,
Yeah,
well,
that can be put into question sometimes.
Matt, you're the
Yo,
best.
you got beef that you guys? Let's get this off his
Air it
chest.
out. Air out some beef. First episode drama.
You guys have some beef you want to air for us, please?
No.
Oh, it'll bring the viewers in
this-
though.
Yeah, this is good podcast drama.
Two people really boringly hashing it out. Trust me, I'm sure there will be, having just been around us when we've talked about movies before, especially me and Matt. I guarantee you, as we get to more ones that we're mixed on or have different opinions on, it'll get more interesting.
It's about the Spider-Mans. Just wait until the Spider-Mans.
Yeah, that's a ways out, but yup, that's probably gonna be the main one. But I'm sure there'll be others.
The Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Well,
put
if
a
no one
volume-
has anything else.
We should put a volume
Right?
warning on those episodes.
We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I don't know if I have any recommendations for this week that I can think of because I haven't really gotten a chance to watch anything.
Oh, you don't. I mean, you don't have to. I just kind of.
You don't have to watch things.
No, I just mean like I didn't want to. I just feel like it's I don't know, a little nicer than just dropping right into a movie that chances are anybody who is listening has not seen. Because how many people have watched Superman in the Mole Man?
You know, in terms of not, I guess this isn't much of a recommendation, but to just mention briefly something that we've seen recently was X, and that was fairly strange.
Oh, X was really good.
It was
Recommend
good. It was
X.
just
Yeah.
strange.
Horny old people fucking killing people.
And Kid Cudi was in it.
Oh yeah, Kid Cudi lays a lot of pipe.
Yeah,
That was the best part.
listen, It's a very relevant. If you're gonna listen to this podcast, you should know I fucking love Kid Cudi. That's a very relevant
is.
part of my personality.
I guess I'll recommend something. I didn't necessarily watch it this week, but
This week it's just been on your mind.
But yeah, like I watched the animated series The Batman from 2004, and can I curse?
Why would I care? She just said fuck.
Oh,
I said
I
shit
that
so many
that shit
times.
fucking slaps.
This man is afraid of saying shit. Oh, man.
Can I? Matt's sitting here putting his fucking fingers together. Can I curse? And then he's that shit fucking slaps.
Matt,
Yes,
there are words that are okay and there are words that are not okay.
but everything I said was okay though, right?
Yes.
Matt is being like this because I specifically told Matt, what word did you want to sound on the podcast that I told you I would prefer that you didn't?
It's an
I'm airing
Asian
it out.
slur.
You can say it if you want to say it.
Chink.
Matt is Asian. He asked if he could say that, and I said I'd prefer you didn't because unless you specify that you're Asian, it could look bad.
Well, we're going to have to specify that every episode.
Okay, well, sure,
Are
there
you planning on saying it every single episode?
Maybe.
But now he's clearing curse words with me. Like I care about that. Like I'm some kind of fucking dictator, which apparently I am. But yeah,
no
I
one
mean,
said anything about that.
A little bit behind the curtain here, I guess. Kind of talking about how the sausage is made.
The Iron Curtain?
Podcast, but
We're getting behind the Iron Curtain.
but yeah, I mean, I don't care. I just like it can be a story you guys want to tell. It can be a I don't know, just any conversation before jumping into the
know
topic
what?
because why not? That's
At
what we're here
work,
for.
at work today, I accidentally told a customer to have a good time instead of have a good day, and I felt like
Wow.
a damn fool.
It's not that different though.
No, but it's so different. Having a good time and having a good day are very different.
In one way,
You want to have a good time,
wait.
buddy?
Continue what I was saying before.
Oh right.
It's a relatively unknown series compared to the previous show, which was Batman Beyond, and the one before that, which was Batman the Animated Series, which needs no introduction. But even though it's not as widely known as its predecessors, I'd say it's almost as good, if not as good. It's incredibly stylized. the reimaginings of the villains, including Clayface, which is my favorite reimagining, and Joker are fantastic. The voice cast is fantastic. And the action scenes, they're really, really good. And I recommend anyone who's a fan of Batman animation to immediately go on HBO Max and watch it, because it's on there. And it used to be really hard to find, but thank God for stream.
Yeah, I need to go back and rewatch, because I watched that as a kid, but I don't remember it. And I loved it as a kid, but I don't remember it too well. So that's something that's kind of on my like long list of things to check out or recheck out.
I actually don't remember that one that much.
Oh, you should watch it. It's still really good. Even revisiting it with like an open mind, saying like, "Oh, I watched it when I was a kid. It might not be as good as I thought it'd be, but no, it's fantastic."
Oh, I remember this. Okay, I was just looking at it. I remember this because of the Joker design and how weird it looked. It wasn't bad. It just looked weird.
Yeah, he didn't wear shoes, and in his debut he wore a straitjacket, and he's voiced by a black man.
Well, it's yes, the characters. The character design on the Joker is also supposed to be dreads. It's
they're dreads.
It's not like explicitly stated, but Joker's black in the context of the show, I believe.
Cool.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so we're gonna be talking about Superman and the Mole Men, again from 1951, written by Robert Maxwell, directed by Lee Sholem. I don't know. Shot by Clark Ramsey, scored by Daryl Calker, and it stars George Reeves as Superman and Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane. So please just, chime in as we go. But
I wonder how many of those names were pronounced incorrectly.
I mean, most of those are probably fine.
We apologize.
Yeah, whatever.
We will be apologizing a lot.
Clark Kent and Lois Lane arrive in the small town of Silsbee to report on the world's deepest oil well. That night, two small, furry, bald-headed humanoids come up through the shaft and scare the elderly night watchman to death. Lois and Clark arrive at the oil well and find the dead watchman. Clark and the foreman explore the surrounding area for signs of foul play when Lois glimpses one of the creatures and screams. No one believes her when she tells them what she saw. And, it's that's one of the things that's definitely a 1950s movie, is Lois sees this. No one believes her. A man subsequently sees it. And now they all believe in the Mole Men.
We don't believe in women.
It's even worse than that. I'll get to it later, but it's actually worse than the ways you two put it.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
well, let me know when you want to get to that.
We'll get to it as the plot goes along.
But the funny thing to me was I just remember watching it with you guys and having seen it before and knowing, like, it's like, this was a movie that was made to pitch the Adventures of Superman TV show, and then they basically just released, it was a 2-part episode that they added some footage to and released theatrically, basically theatrically released TV pilot to try to recoup some money in case it didn't get picked up, which it did get picked up. So it's, 50s TV effects are pretty cheap, so the Mole Men come out, and the reaction you guys had of the like very clearly defined facial prosthesis to give them the large heads. And then the other thing that sticks out in my memory is I think Jason was the only one who noticed that it looks like they're just wearing like black jumpsuits, but it's supposed to be like furry bodies.
Yeah, and you can see the zipper on the back of the furry body at the one part. It shows them from behind.
That's the thing.
You can see the zipper.
That's the thing, though. I did not know they were supposed to be furry. I just thought they were wearing jumpsuits.
Well,
there's a line like 40 minutes into this 58-minute movie where they reference them being furry, and we were all like, Jason was right.
Yeah, because like in the beginning, I didn't really think about it much, but they say like, oh, they have mole bodies, and it was like, what? I went by, that thing went by me. Like, I didn't understand what they meant, because it was like they just look like people in like jumpsuits. And then like afterwards, when Jason mentioned it, like towards the end of the movie, that it's like, oh, it's fur, I was like, oh, that's why they described them with mole bodies, and that's why they're mole men. Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
Because I noticed it like immediately that they looked like they were supposed to be furry, and I brought it up, and you guys were like, "Are they?"
Well, the furriest thing about them is their freaking eyebrows.
Yeah, they did have big ass eyebrows.
Exactly.
Sexy eyebrows. I mean, those foreheads were massive.
They all be looking like Eugene Levy.
Jesus Christ.
Oh no.
But when they first showed up, it was like, oh, this is peak sexuality. I loved it. They were beautiful. Those foreheads, the fact that you could see the little flaps from like the prosthetics that they had on their head. Just that you could see the flaps just going in the wind. It was beautiful. I say that as if I'm like super exaggerating, but you could see like one of the flaps on there, and it was kind of fucking weird. But Jesus Christ, somebody had to make that costume, and it just makes me like the amount of like. It just surprises me that like considering this is the 1950s, that like they don't have much to work with to begin with, but like you think at the same like this came out in, when was it, 1951 or 1950?
Yeah, 1951.
1951. So like it's just weird to me to imagine that like for example, like Godzilla came out 3 years later, and like they managed to make a pretty good suit that you have somebody walking around in that has like the weird looking keloid scars essentially, and then you have this where it's like they put on fursuits and then fucking attached.
Well, I mean, the thing about that was like it was like an incredibly uncomfortable suit though. They put a lot of design into it, but in order to get that design, like they had to make like compromises, like in order to get the skin like all like, you know, like how do I say it, like
they're supposed to be keloid scars because
Yeah.
it's nuclear radiation. But
yeah,
anyway.
in order to get that effect, they had to put like concrete, right? They basically put concrete on the Godzilla suit, and so it was unbelievably heavy to just walk around in that. And I don't think any actor in the US will be willing to do that for the sake of a performance.
The other thing of note though too is just that, and I don't know, Sean may be able, as like our resident Godzilla expert, lend more credence to this, but I'm willing to bet Godzilla had a bigger budget too, just because this was again essentially a TV pilot, so it's not even like it was an initially planned theatrical release.
That's true.
So they're probably working real shoestring, which again, I mean, all things considered, it didn't like, you know, the visual effects and everything and the makeup, it's all limited, but it is like, it's not, I think it's all fine, especially when you consider it's a 1951, I mean, it was theatrically released, but it's essentially a TV show.
Yeah, that's the thing that's interesting. I kind of want to look back at like other, maybe just shows to have like a better comparison from like the 1950s, just to have an idea of like what kind of practical effects were kind of being like were going on at the time, because like I know at least like because of just when we've grown up, like I have an idea of like practical effects from the 80s and like 90s and like even into the 2000s until like, you know, CGI became more of a big thing, and then we still have like some practical effects available in like certain films, but like it's just interesting to see like back then when they only had practical effects to see like how they did certain things. And obviously this is like a show, so again they didn't have that big of a budget, which is why, you know, you have the situation of like these mole men look like they're trying to be furries but have failed at picking their own fursuit.
They should remake this with Danny DeVito.
Oh my fucking god,
It would be perfect.
But yeah, it's just it's interesting to see that, like, you know, what they are able to and capable of doing. Like the shot, I don't know if specifically, since we're going through this by like story, and I know we haven't gotten to a point where like Superman is involved yet.
Oh, chime in whenever.
But like,
it's just a way to flow
but the ways that they did the Superman shots where he's like flying overhead, and it's like, I'm assuming that they probably had a limited rig to begin with, because like,
oh yeah,
you can't put a camera up that fucking high and expect to like show it like, oh, he's up way up there and nobody can see him. But like they show him like flying past a mob, and the camera's like maybe 5 feet from their faces as it's going by, and you're supposed to assume that like none of them can see Superman, that he's super far up, but this is supposed to be like from his perspective, so as they're going by, as he's like going by the mob. And it was like, oh, this just obviously I understand that at the time that you're so limited with like your budget that you probably just did what you could, of course, which is why it's interesting to just see like with the limitations, how do you deal with these certain aspects of like just like whatever you've put, whatever limitations you have, how did you work through it with what you're filming? Because like in this case, it's a superhero who flies, and like you either have the situation of him just like kind of dropping in and thus ignoring the fact that he can fly to begin with, or like where they have the camera flying 5 feet above everybody's heads, and we're supposed to assume that they can't see Superman from 5 feet above.
The best part about it was the sound effect. It was like shh. It just kept playing that every time he flew, and I loved it. I couldn't stop laughing when I saw that.
There's a nice campiness to it.
Yeah, moving along a little. So the medical examiner is summoned, and he later leaves with Lois. Clark stays behind to confront the foreman, who confesses that the well was closed for fear they'd struck radium and not oil. If just side interjection real quick, there's definitely a minor environmental message to this. It's not like hung on too much, but this idea of like all of the issues in this movie are caused because of them drilling for oil.
There are other things that were hung in this movie, and it was not that message.
George Reeves. The foreman proceeds to show Clark ore samples that were collected during different stages of drilling, all of them glowing brightly. Meanwhile, 2 mole men innocently explore the town. The residents become terrified because of the peculiar appearance and that everything they touch glows in the dark due to simple phosphorescence, though they fear at the time in the context of the movie that they could be radioactive. Soon an angry mob forms, led by the violent Luke Benson, in order to kill the monsters. Superman stops Benson and the mob and saves one of the creatures after it's been shot. He takes it to the hospital, and the second creature returns to the wellhead, and disappears down its shaft.
You know what I love is that like this is obviously meant to have like a xenophobic message of like don't hate people who are different, essentially, in this movie entirely made by white people with an entire cast of white people, which it is the 50s, but it's just funny to think about that.
The thing that's interesting too is, I mean, even specifically with the xenophobia, with it being the 50s, the clear comparison and what I'm sure they were going for is the Red Scare, and then that's we talked about this a little bit before, but let me make sure I get his name correct. I believe it's Jeff Corey. Yeah, Jeff Corey, who plays the previously mentioned Luke Benson, the main like villager who's trying to hunt down these mole men just on the back of, and through the context, I think it's key in the name is Superman and the mole men. It's not like versus the mole men or anything, or Superman. They don't do anything wrong. Their just home gets destroyed basically, and then they're just trying to like see what's up and like walking around, and people try to kill them. But anyway, Jeff Corey, the main, pitchfork carrying villager, actually ended up being part of the second Red Scare. He was blacklisted like right after this movie came out and didn't get a role for 9 years between 51 and 60 because he attended Communist Party meetings. He was apparently never registered as a communist, but he attended party meetings and refused to rat anyone out who was there, which you gotta respect it. And got blacklisted. So it's just a little bit of really sad, unfortunate irony in him playing the role of somebody who would be blindly running communists out of town, and kind of having that happen to him in real life.
Yeah, that's my guy. I'm with him.
That's you're about it.
Yeah, he's for the people.
Yeah, shout out Jeff Corey.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, unfair what happened to him. But you're right. It definitely, it is it's 1951, of course. It's a very white movie. But, I think the message can still apply. And ultimately it is kind of going for, I think, more of a, it fits more ideologically, even though there's the clear, like, visual difference between the mole men and human people.
I also really liked to see, like, the visual effects they did for like the radiation where everything just fucking glows. Nothing that their feet touch glows. It's just they pick up a ball, it glows.
It glows when they have it in the budget.
It glows when they have it in the budget.
It also glows when they freeze the camera on one thing. Like when they're moving, nothing glows, but when they like stop on something, linger, and then linger where they are.
they do use it to track the moment at one point though, which I do think was pretty like to acknowledge it when they're hunting them and they find spots in the grass. But it's not like it happens as they go. Like you said, it's only when they linger.
The one thing that I also realized, I couldn't tell if they were trying to do this visually or not, but make them appear very, very white on film so that it looks like they're also kind of like glowing. Obviously, they're creatures from inside the earth per the film, so it's like, okay, of course they're going to be like the whitest things you've ever seen. Like me. So it's just I couldn't tell if they were trying to make them glow or not, or if they were trying to put on like makeup or prosthetics so that it looked like they were very white, but I could tell like maybe there's a case for them attempting to go for that just by the way that they look. Anyways, Jesus Christ. I love that we're talking about this movie as if it's like as if it's masterclass. Like the themes of this Superman and the Mole Man movie is fantastic. This movie sucks.
Well, actually, to circle back to the themes,
It doesn't
No,
suck.
listen.
It's more dated.
Let it be known, it is not masterclass. I fucking hated this movie.
I wouldn't say I hated it, but I wouldn't say that I liked it.
I give the movie its merits for existing and having like a message. It tried to do something, and you know what? For the time, it was probably fairly decent. For now, no.
I feel like a kid in the 50s would like it, and I think you could even show like a young kid it now, and they may enjoy it because it's just like, ooh, dude flying. Like you're too young to know better and to have seen other things, and to be used to modern effects. But I do actually want to circle back a little bit to themes because I had something written down and I didn't want to not say it. In terms of the Red Scare stuff, it struck out to me. They do use the phrases nationwide hysteria and then screaming headlines, monsters invade Western town. And while it's set in Texas, I believe, so obviously that's like Western, it really feels like, again, if you're going in with this theme of the East-West world division at the time, making the point of it being monsters invade Western town as a phrase, like maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but that feels conscious to me.
Granted, I'm assuming that like most of that also was in the zeitgeist of the times. Look at me using big words. That like, so yeah, it's not like I feel like that's probably partially one, they obviously made that choice. Two, it's also just that like that's probably what they're used to seeing on like a daily basis. So like that would have seemed fairly heavy-handed, I presume, at the time. But yeah, oh boy.
Well, so a doctor announces that the injured creature will die unless he has surgery to remove the bullet. When a nurse refuses to do so out of fear, Clark volunteers to assist
By sucking out the bullet. Suck out the bullet. Take it like it's snake venom. It's snake venom. He's got to suck out the bullet.
The way I am looking at Sean right now.
But like, okay, imagine it. That he's Superman. He's got super sucking capabilities. Suck out the bullet.
Did he have his super breath in 50?
I
don't know. I mean, I just know he just kept getting shit added. Like, I know at one point in like the 70s or some shit, he could spawn little Superman out of his hand.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. At some point, I may be missing the era, but there was a point in time where he could there was like a comic where he could shoot, like he had little Superman that would come out of his palms, and he could like send him out to do stuff. Like they just kind of kept adding things. Like when Superman was created, he was like
A man who could leap over
strong,
tall buildings.
and he could like jump, and that was it. And he was like invulnerable to like bullets and stuff like that. And then it became like, oh, well, he can fly. Oh, he has laser eyes. Oh, he's freeze breath and super breath. Oh, like, and it just kept adding. And then the strength kept like, he kept getting faster and faster and stronger and stronger. This is, I mean, again, given it's 51, so a lot of that hadn't been done yet, and also the limited effects. This is pretty much your simple. He's flying. He can fly and he's strong. But anyway, Clark volunteers to assist, not by sucking out the bullet, but they just let this unqualified man in a surgery help perform surgery. Benson's mob arrives at the hospital demanding that the creature be turned over to them. Superman stands guard outside the hospital. Lois stands at his side, but a shot is fired from the mob, narrowly missing her. Superman sends her inside and relieves the mob of their rifles and pistols. It's definitely very, very American how quickly they all go for, let's get our gun.
Well, it was fucking funny when what's his face, the guy who was leading the mob, just sat there with the pistol and like kept shooting and didn't stop and
Yeah.
just kept like trying to hit Superman, and he's just there and he's like, keep it coming. I'm
That was the
waiting.
best. Was they never seemed to fucking learn that their guns weren't gonna work against him. Like they continuously tried to shoot him, and I'm like, fucking take a hit. He's not. He's walked through all of your bullets.
they had done-
Ammo can't be cheap.
They
Like,
had done that multiple times before already, that Superman had at least gotten hit or shot by something,
Yeah.
and then to do it 6 times at once and expect
It's just
anything
like one of
different.
these will work.
the badass moment here, though, isn't even actually Superman taking bullets to the chest unfazed or bending guns in half. Lois throws hands. Like, they start coming up to the hospital, and she, like, no hesitation, totally unapologetically starts hitting people. And it's... I was a little bit floored to see a movie from 1951 be like, we're going to have the woman... Like, I mean, she's just kind of slapping people around outside a hospital. But, like... They, like, you know, let her defend herself and others, and then didn't make it like she was a crazy woman, so that was kind of nice.
I forgot that she beat the shit out of somebody.
Yeah, she throws hands.
Yeah,
I will say one of the most notable parts of that section where they're outside the hospital to me is when Superman's standing guard. He goes inside, and then Clark Kent, who had not previously been inside the hospital, comes out. And no one questions that Superman...
Back door.
Oh, yeah.
No, Clark was in the hospital because Clark assists with the operation.
No, Superman assisted
No,
with the
Clark assists with
operation.
the operation.
That's it. No, I think you're
No,
wrong.
it was Clark, it was Clark.
Clark assists with the operation, and then Superman comes out of the hospital. You're
Then
right.
Superman
No, but
wasn't
that's
in the
it.
hospital.
You're right, but for the wrong reasons. Superman was never entered the hospital, but
And
comes
then
out of the hospital.
Superman walks out and he's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
That's just
Okay.
iconic to me. that
Clark
they
gives
just-
himself away like almost so many times.
Yeah.
He'll be like, Superman. Or the one shot where he sees people coming around the corner before they're visible, and then Lois like never questions it. He's just like, get your eyes checked.
Right, like
Well, that was also the most awkward shot in the movie, because it's like, you don't really... knowing Superman, it was fine, but like... It was just such a weirdly shot thing that you don't presume that he's looking at people through the corner, and it just goes to like him telling her to stop for a hot second, and then he looks forward towards the street, and then the camera moves over to the shot of just the street, and then like 5 seconds of nothing, and then suddenly people come around the corner running, and it's like, okay, that was a really long...
were they running? I remember them like walking or like slowly jogging.
They were moving at a either reasonable speed or a slightly moderate speed. It doesn't matter. They still took 5 seconds to come around a curve, and Superman, and they had that shot of just waiting 5 seconds.
Matt's being the type of guy who's like, plot hole. They were angry. They should have been moving faster. That's why the movie's bad.
that was funny. That it's just like it felt like the cue would have been quicker for them to turn the corner, because they just showed. I noticed that too, but I forgot about it. They just showed a corner.
Oh, speaking of padding the time, go on to like the next. Oh wait, you skipped the 10 minutes of them chasing the freaking mole man.
Oh my god, I forgot about the 10-minute chase scene that takes up the 1/6 of the film.
Oh yeah, well they chase a mole man, and that's got to be at least 10 minutes of this like 58-minute movie.
Yeah, it was.
That's 10 minutes that Superman isn't fucking in.
Oh yeah, and
Like,
Superman's not involved in the chase.
like not whatsoever.
Okay, just to break down the scene. So after one of the mole men gets shot, the other one starts running away, and I thought it was at nighttime when the guy got shot, but then when they cut to the mole man running away, it's pure daytime. So he's running
there's no
around,
continuity.
and this mob is chasing after the mole man. And one of the mobsters has like a bunch of dogs chasing after the mole man because they got the scent or something. And it goes on forever and ever, and just keeps on going. And it shows him hiding in one place, running, and then the mob figuring out, oh, he went this direction. This went on for like at least 2 minutes. And then
That's gonna make this go
went
on
to
for
a
at
shot,
least 2 minutes.
and then they cut to a shot of the mole man looking at a guy drinking water. The guy drinking water then sees the mole man, runs away. Then they don't cut this out, by the way. They shot the mole man coming down the hill, going to his campsite, drinking the water, and then running again. And then there was like, I think there was like a lingering shot of the mob also from the top of the hill coming down the hill to the campsite. And I feel bad for these dogs. I mean, they must be kicking them in the back to just continuously run for all these shots, because it looked like it was like in a desert or something.
And then at the end of it, for a while, they pin the mole man down in the shed and set it on fire. And there's like, I swear to God, there's like a couple minutes of just them watching the shed burn while he tries to figure out how to get out. And there's no cutaway. Like, I wish we had gone back and timed how long this scene was with the chase, because there's no, like, it's not like Superman has just caught the mole man that was shot and flown to the hospital, and it's not like it like cuts back and forth between like Superman at the hospital trying to save this mole man. Like, it's just like, oh, strictly this chase for like 10 plus, it feels like from my memory like 10 plus minutes, and then just cuts back to like them chilling at the hospital after.
Oh my God! From when they started the fire to when the mole man escaped, it literally seemed like forever. Like, they set it fire, and from the outside, it looked like the whole thing, the whole hut that the mole man is hiding in, is just engulfed in flames. That he's definitely dead. Then they cut to inside it, where there's like a little itty bitty flame here, a little itty bitty flame there. Oh, there's smoke now. Oh, the danger is going up. Ooh, and he's like, how the mole man acts is like putting a hamster in a new cage. He just investigates every little corner with like a little panicked look in his face, and he does this continuously in circles until he's like huddles in the corner, like he's about to give up. I'm like, oh, he's dead. But no, then he gets up again, does the same thing again, and then realize, oh, there's a floorboard. So he crawls to the floorboard, which doesn't make sense because they put like the weeds under the hut, so the bottom would be set on fire too. But who am I to say? It's the 50s.
All of that just to, it was the 50s.
I also like that during that chase scene that the dogs were there and did absolutely fucking nothing.
Good boys.
Oh,
They
they
were
let
good
the
boys.
dogs go. Let the dogs go for a bit, right? And then after he let the dogs go, Benson then comes out and says, "Release the dogs." I'm pretty sure he says that after he released the dogs already.
My biggest issue with this scene specifically, but also the fucking movie, is that, like, Superman's just not there. Like, there's this whole scene, it's, like, supposed to be this tense scene of, like, them chasing the mole man and shit, and the titular character and the man we came to see just isn't fucking there.
Clark, he's in it plenty as Clark, but he is only Superman for a couple of scenes, and it really reads like the fact that this was basically a 2-part episode, because he has like a moment in the first half and a moment in the second half, and it really reads like an old show where we have it in the shooting schedule and the budget for him to be Superman in these 2 times, and then it's cut together and padded out a little bit as a movie. If this was made, like, you would never do that these days. You would never have him be Superman. And not even just in the suit, like, he doesn't, like, it's not even like it's like an origin movie where he doesn't become Superman towards the end. He's just, like, he is just Clark for, like, 90% of it, which it didn't bother me as much as it bothered you, but it's definitely true.
But then, like, there's, like he said, it's the scene where, like, the mole man's in the fucking shack and it's on fire, and it's like, you'd think a competent writer would be like, oh, perhaps Superman comes and staves off the mob and saves the mole man. But no, he just fucking, like, hides in the floor. And it doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it was, he didn't hide into the floor. He opened the plank, crawl out of the hut through the bottom floor, and then ran away and back into he ran all the way back to their original place, like the hidey hole they came from.
I think we need to get off the scene before Matt decides to describe the entirety of it.
We've talked about this more than that scene more than it deserves. So, like, coming to a close of the plot here, last paragraph of the summary. 3 more mole men, say that 3 times fast. 3 more mole men emerged from the drill shaft, this time bearing a strange weapon. Side note, the weapon is made out of a vacuum cleaner with some parts glued on.
Oh, and they painted it chrome too.
That's
Not that you can tell. It's black
that's
and
where
white,
Superman Super Suck was.
but Sean's really on that.
God, they could have just taken their mole man friend and sucked it out themselves. They could have sucked the bullet out themselves.
No,
But it was a weapon.
They pointed
it was
at
made of a vacuum cleaner, but it's a gun.
Nah, that thing could totally suck.
Yeah, okay.
Sean. They pointed at people and it goes. "Nyo, nyo, 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 nyo."
Yeah, but what
That's
if they hit the reverse button? It probably has a reverse button. This is the 50s. They had a reverse button.
Your mom should have Uno reversed her pregnancy.
I'm gonna go back up into the womb.
Dude, what I love about Sean is when he gets stuck on stupid bullshit like this. Like, I was saving this for the podcast because I wanted to talk about it, and he brought it up last time we hung out. But he always tries to, like, he holds his hand out to me and asks me to come in his hand. So then, a couple of weeks ago.
No, you can't say that without the fact that I text you come every day.
And he texts me the word come every day. Every single day. It's
Except
almost
during
been a
November,
year.
he stopped.
Except during November, he stopped for No Nut November, which I commend. But then the other day, not the other day, it was like 2 weeks ago at this point, he sent me a picture of his hand with a bunch of almonds in it and just said, "Thinking of you." And I was taken away by the commitment.
When Sean comes up with the bit, he's nothing if not committed, and it will. It doesn't always start off as a funny bit, but he literally he will will that shit into being funny, and it'll work more often than not.
It becomes to the point that the bit still isn't funny, but it's just funny how committed he is to it, and you can't help but fucking laugh.
The smile on my face every time he looks at you and goes, "Come in my hand."
All right. Let's go back. Let's finish the synopsis real quick.
No. This is about cum.
Matt's ready to move on. All right. So three more mole men emerge from the drill shaft. This time bearing a strange weapon. They make their way to the hospital. Benson and his mob see the creatures, and Benson goes after them alone. The creatures fire their laser-like weapon at him. Superman jumps in front of the pulsating ray, saving Benson's life. It doesn't really mention in the summary, but it's like there's like 30 seconds of him just sitting there getting hit by the ray, like squirming uncomfortably before Superman gets there. I just felt like that was worth noting because it's kind of burned into my mind.
If there's one thing that the director knows really well to do with this movie is to pad the runtime.
And we're talking about a movie that's sub an hour. Superman jumps in front of the pulsating ray, saving Benson's life, which Superman says is more than you deserve. Superman has some good lines in this movie. Like, he calls the mob a lynch. They calls them lynch mob Nazi stormtroopers. He's spitting. Things only got political recently. Oh God. Where was I? That's more than you deserve. Superman fetches the wounded creature from the hospital and carries him as his companions return to the wellhead. Soon after, from deep underground, the mole men destroy the drill shaft, making certain that no one can come up or down it ever again. Lois observes, it's almost as if they were saying, "You live your lives, and we'll live ours." And that's Superman.
Oh, and just to mention, that blast they did, that's where most of the budget went.
Oh, for sure. That and the fire.
Yeah.
The blowing up the oil head and then the fire in the shack, yeah.
All right, let's move on because I've taken some notes of key takeaways I've taken from this movie.
Oh,
I thought you were about to be like, let's move on from the film. I have something I really want to share with you guys.
I was like, I feel like we should conclude, but yeah, no, go for it. So let us hear your takeaways.
So, my first impression of the movie, of its intro, is that what I put down in my notes is that the costume is less impressive than a Halloween costume. It's the 50s, so
the Superman costume or the Mole Man costume?
The Superman costume.
I don't think the Superman costume is bad.
It just looked.
It's not bad for the time. It honestly, that's the one thing that I give a positive about the movie. That at the very least, with the budget that they fucking had, I
don't think it's much different than like the Christopher Reeve one.
It seems fairly good for the time.
That's about to say, like, then I realized, I'm like, it's the 50s. They were definitely on a shoestring budget, so that can be forgiven. Then here comes the juicy part. The deepest oil well was newsworthy back in the day, and the deepest oil well was 6 miles long, and which is according to the movie the center of the earth.
I fucking forgot about that.
It is just an FYI. It's not.
Yeah, if you didn't know.
Okay.
Did you put down
so-
the number? Because I looked that up during the movie, and I can't remember what the deepest oil well was, but it was nowhere
It was
near.
nowhere near 6 miles. Okay, so moving on. What I have next on my notes is mole men apparently have mad head and bushy eyebrows. And what I have next is when Lois saw the mole man and no one believed her. One of the guys commented that she needed women needed capsules in the morning, otherwise they will go in shock. So that is one of the takeaways. And
They don't? They don't?
what do you mean?
I'm kidding.
Oh, that's what you're trying to say. I thought you just didn't understand what I said.
No,
Okay. 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 Moving on. According to the movie, the Earth is hollow. So I was hoping that dinosaurs are there as well. Mole men fondle balls, are radioactive, but they're not. And are scared of snakes, but everyone is. According to the mob, everything is a weapon. Because I remember they're just pulling shit on like everything they could find. Like there was like a Barberman pole. A dude went over there, ripped it from the wall, and was gonna use it to beat up the mole men.
Highlight of the movie.
It was amazing.
I don't want to go. What about fondling balls? Why was that in there?
Because remember, they're playing with the
When he
little
plays
girl.
ball with the kid.
They touch the oranges first, which are balls, and then they play the ball with the little girl too.
Oh my fucking god! Why did you save that in your notes as fondling balls?
Can you tell that we're like 20-something-year-old man children?
Oh my God.
Like we just had these conversations about like cum and balls.
Coming is Sean's thing, okay?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so and the next thing was in regard to a scene we didn't mention because it was really unimportant. But they were on a dam, right?
Oh,
the bridge. They were on. Okay,
when the mole gets shot, one mole man gets shot.
Okay. So minor pet peeve. They said they got the mole man covered, even though they only covered one side of the bridge. There's still a other side of the bridge. We don't see anyone on the other side. In fact, how they start getting shot at, and they start freaking planking instead of like looking for cover because it's a freaking bridge. You don't stand on the edge of the bridge when you're getting shot. And so they start planking, and then, as one of them gets shot and does a move, which is definitely dubbed.
Oh, I forgot that screen. That was like so. It felt like Wilhelm scream.
Things that you're hung up on though.
And then like as soon as he gets shot, that's when the other woman crosses the bridge to safety. So that's one thing. The chase scene lasted. The chase scene felt like it lasted 10 minutes. I'm pretty sure it was. There's a lack of Superman in the movie named after him. Jason already covered that. Journalists can assist in medical surgeries because apparently...
It's life or death, man.
Yeah, exactly. The sheriff is completely useless. And
so are you, Matt.
Vacuum cleaners are deadly mole men weapons. And segregation is the answer.
Oh yeah, you
Jesus
live your life and
Christ.
we'll live ours. That is, I get what they're going for, but you live your life and we'll live ours is kind of a weird
Yeah. So that's what I wrote in my notes.
The most separate but equal ending possible.
I feel like you could make it like self-determination, but sure, go with that.
That is the one thing that I forgot that he brought up is that anytime the mole men are in danger, they just lay the fuck down and plank. Like,
Yeah, I
what
forgot
the-
about
what
that
is-
on the bridge when they're like fucking there, and then they're like, "Oh, we gotta avoid the guns," or it was the fucking lights. Sorry, it was the lights. They're like shining the lights, and also none of the lights were hitting like above the bridge. They were all just on the face of the bridge. So it was like, all right, that's not gonna work anyways, whether you know how to aim a light or not. And they decided that like their only way of like getting away from the light was to plank on the top of the bridge.
It wasn't just the top of the bridge, it was the edge of the bridge.
Listen, man, the lighting sucks, but that's another thing that like I just don't even care because it's like, I mean, our audio sucks. Who would talk? No, but really, I'm like, I know what they were working with.
Oh, no matter what, it's like no matter what, we're just nitpicking this movie for fun because there's no I could not sit here and talk about the themes for hours, and like there's no fun in talking about the themes of this movie for hours.
No, it's not. It doesn't hold a lot of value. I had a fun time watching it. Like if you got like less than an hour to kill, and maybe like we weren't, but maybe have some drinks with some buds. Like there's like worse things you can watch, but I wouldn't generally recommend it. It's definitely
It was definitely a fun experience. At least I don't think I'd ever want to watch this movie alone
Or sober.
Oh yeah.
I kind of want to know what the show turned out to be like, just because I haven't ever fucking given it a chance, and I don't think I ever want to. But
Jason is so adamantly shaking his head, disgusted. He hated this.
But like, yeah, I just want to know how the show turned out comparable to this. If the production got any better, just vaguely better. But I'd just be curious because, like, of course there came a point where like, that stuff was popular at the time to some degree, at least enough for them to make a show and for it to get picked up, especially during a time when it was like. That I wonder that had to still be expensive either way for the time. But like, yeah, just the idea of like, I want to see if they fucking improved. I just want to know because like you don't I even at that time it's like you're in the early era of like film, so like you really didn't understand what the fuck you were doing, TV show, film, or otherwise, anything that came to that. Like, yeah, I mean you still did to some degree, but it's like this is like the beginning of like after World War II was kind of more of like this big push for Western entertainment because it was like this. I don't want to say there was a void per se, but it was more of like the Western way of thinking was able to have a lot more influence on what was going on at the time. So like that's why you see a lot of like film became a bigger thing in like Japan and other areas that were kind of like becoming more westernized because of the West just in general, their influence after the war. So it's just interesting to see like how that kind of affected like things as stuff went on. So I just want to know how long do we know how long that show actually went on for?
I believe it went on. I can try to confirm. I believe it went on for like 3 or 4 seasons at like 51 to 55 type of range. Let me look that up real quick
because I'm just curious because there's so much stuff from that time that's like genuinely interesting to see, if only because of the historical value of it. This thing has no fucking value, but at the very least it has some like interesting value in terms of like
52 to 58, and this movie came out in late 51.
Yeah, so they had a lot of time to at least get some perspective.
6 seasons, 104 episodes.
6 seasons in a movie.
I mean, this was a successful show because again at the time.
Wait, it is 6 seasons in a movie.
6 seasons in a movie. Because, I mean, at the time, it's like your options are limited, and if you're a kid and you're a family, it's like, yeah, let's watch Superman. And it was like half-hour episodes, so. Anyone have anything pressing they want to add before we kind of delve into final thoughts?
How big do we think Superman's cock is?
Fairly large.
But, like, in terms of inches?
7?
I'm gonna
deep sigh.
We're gonna 7 is above average, so I guess that would be okay. I'm gonna go with 9. I'm gonna give him the mega schlong.
7's a hefty cock.
Wait, it's above average, yes. But
that's
like
2 inches
he's
above
Superman,
average.
not above average man.
I'm gonna be a stick in the mud and bow out of this conversation. Anyway, kind of wrapping this one up. Final thoughts. My favorite highlights of the movie for me are definitely the man ripping the barber pole off of a wall to use as a weapon. On a slightly more serious note, I do think George Reeves is a pretty solid Superman for what he does. The scene in particular where he kind of talks down the mob in the hotel lobby and is like, hey, they're not hurting anything. Maybe we should take a breather. Is pretty well. I actually do kind of enjoy that scene. I mean, for what it is, it's a well done little monologue. And then Lois star in hands. Iconic. Bad bitch. Least favorite thing. We kind of beat it to death, Matt especially, but that chase scene, in particular the editing, there's no reason you can't be cutting away to other things. It just goes on way too long, especially for such a short movie. And overall, can't say that I recommend it. I would not, if someone just asked me if they should watch this movie, there's maybe some circumstance. It's not a bad way to start this podcast. Things will get worse for sure. But if someone just said, hey, should I watch this? No. I would not say too. What about you guys? Highlights, lowlights, general, would you recommend?
I'm gonna jump in. I think my highlights are definitely just like seeing the how film just was at the time. I think that's the most interesting part of this for me, is just seeing like this is from the 50s, so it's just interesting to see like how do they adapt Superman as it was at the time, and how do they fucking do it, and they did it. But yeah, George Reeves' Superman is actually pretty interesting to see. Worst thing about that movie, I can't say. I want to say something different other than the chase scene, because Jesus fucking Christ, that was terrible.
Just say chase scene and move on.
Well, yeah, but like,
Unlike the chase scene, move on.
I love the chase scene. I think like I'm just gonna leave it at that. The worst thing was definitely the chase scene. Fuck that thing. But like, I don't know if I would recommend this. Not because like I want to recommend it because I think it's great or anything. I think it's just interesting to watch once, just to see the propaganda piece that it is, and kind of get an idea of like, okay, what was media like at the time, is kind of like the best place that I would put this in. Of like, do you find that historical value interesting, and just seeing how things were like at the time in terms of, you know, what was being made in terms of entertainment? Then yeah, sure, it's interesting to watch once and never fucking watch again. And I did not get that much entertainment out of this, especially if I had watched it alone. It would have been terrible, but at least I watched it with people, so it was fine.
My recommendation, it's a definite no. It felt too long, even though the movie was only like 58 minutes long, and it dragged on for a long time, even though it didn't, but it felt like it did. You can spend your time watching other Superman movies, or if you're really curious about this movie, you could read the synopsis that Jake read on Wikipedia, and it has the exact same value, and but you don't waste 58 minutes. Instead, you just waste like a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Matt on this one. I did not like this movie. I think the best part of it for me was probably the communist sympathy that it showed, because you know, those are my boys in red. And also the one scene that made me laugh where the kids, where the mole men are playing with the kids, and the kid says, "Let's play catch," and then starts rolling the ball at them. 'Cause
That's not good.
that's not catch. Like, that's not even up to like a budget or of the times thing. Like, that's just like they just didn't play catch. And I thought that was just fucking hilarious. So that's my favorite thing that happened in the fucking movie. And then aside from that, I just did not like this movie. I just had a bad time watching it. I would not recommend it to anyone. I just hated it.
Although it could be fun not being sober while watching it.
No, listen, even then, if you're not going to be sober, watch something more fun than this.
Yeah, there are probably better things to watch drunk than Superman and the Mole Men.
I think being drunk would make it better, but I don't think that this is something I'd recommend to watch while
Doesn't mean
drunk.
it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Oh, but how about we give drunk recommendations then?
Just like general ones?
Yeah,
Or
like what do you think? What do you think? Think of a movie that's experience is enhanced by not being sober.
Venom.
That's one.
I was gonna say that.
I'm sure we're gonna have plenty throughout the course of this podcast, but I want to try to like steer away from movies we're gonna talk about, because I'm sure there will be plenty. So other than Venom or any others,
The answer is only Venom.
man, honestly, Studio 666. We went and saw Studio 666 recently. I can't call it a good movie, but I had a blast, and I was in a movie theater, so I was sober. It's not like I snuck alcohol or anything, but I can only imagine, and I'll have to do this at some point and report back, that movie would be an absolute blast if you were shit-faced.
I remember that movie so much more now, and it makes me so much more given recent stuff. You know, the drummer passing away for Foo Fighters makes that film much more. It's just, I don't want to say sad to watch. It just makes it a lot more nice knowing that it was like kind of made as like they were friends and they kind of just made that movie as like a fun little thing to do together. But it does make it a little more sad to watch now.
Like us doing this.
What? Are you suggesting something?
Well, not that one of us is gonna die, but that this is just, buds being buds.
Which one of us do we off? We're off and we're killing Jason.
Nose goes.
No, I already volunteered.
Jason volunteered.
For our audio listeners,
Right. Well,
which is all of you.
There you have it. No one here overly fond. Me and Sean were definitely on the more generous end of the spectrum, but definitely an overall negative reception pretty much across the board to at least some degree.
Wait, we never got Jason's recommendation for a drunk movie.
Well, I would agree about Studio 666 for one. I think also maybe Sonic the Hedgehog would be a good one. I quite enjoyed that movie sober.
I can't wait for the second one, though.
Oh, it's gonna be so good. Or maybe not.
I think seeing Jim Carrey as a Dr. Robotnik while also shit-faced would be a great time. I love Jim Carrey as well. I plan on getting a tattoo of his face on my ass.
Do it of the Grinch face. And not like the makeup version, like the version that he gave during like the Sonic the Hedgehog interview.
That's not a bad idea. When you first said the Grinch, I was a little hesitant. Because I wouldn't want the Grinch on my ass. But maybe if it was just Jim Carrey making the Grinch
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That I'm a little bit more on board with.
Right. Well, on that note, while we all sit and think about Jason's ass, I just want to say thank you to Alo Ren for our artwork. You can follow him at Alo Ren on Twitter, AYELOWREN. Thank you to our very own Jason for our intro outro music. Jason, you want to plug your stuff?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at my name is Jason_8. I believe it's underscore on there. Also, I make music as The Upsides. You can follow me on Twitter at _UpsidesPA, Instagram The Upsides PA, and on SoundCloud The Upsides. I should have a new song out as this comes out if I ever fucking get off my ass and finish layering the vocals. And that should be the song where the intro and outro music is from. So, if you care for it, go check it out.
All right. You can follow me on Letterboxd at JakeWalter98 if you want more ill-advised movie opinions. If you're interested in continuing to check us out, please follow us at illiterate_pod for both Twitter and Instagram. You can also reach us at culturallyilliteratepod@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. Please review wherever you and rate wherever you listen to this. All episodes are going to be up on our YouTube channel as well if you're not already listening there. It's a Culturally Illiterate Podcast is the channel name. And I just want to reiterate, so we're going to have bi-weekly episodes at least to start out to allow us more time in terms of getting them edited, getting them made. And for next week, if you want to just know or if you want to watch along, we're going to be watching Batman from 1966 starring Adam West and Burt Ward. Matt's evidently excited about that. Definitely looking forward to that one more than this past one. But thank you very much for listening, and we will talk with you again next time.